Some new information on a major lawsuit filed by the NAACP. It was just filed at the beginning of this week, and it's getting a lot of attention. The group claims thousands of voters are being illegally removed from the polls in North Carolina from voting rolls. The head of the state's chapter says a disproportionate number of those voters are black and calls North Carolina ground zero for voter suppression. Eric Esther is a criminal defense attorney. Richard St. Paul is also a defense attorney, former prosecutor as well. So let's just underscore this because timing matters. And here we are a few days before the election. North Carolina is a tight swing state. Barack Obama won by less than a percentage point in 2008. Mitt Romney won in 2012. So it's very tense. Every vote matters in North Carolina. Richard, you've done some work in the past for the NAACP. Just tell us a little bit about this case and what you see, what stands out most to you.
Sure. So I'm the legal redress for the New Rochelle branch of the NAACP, which is in New York. I've also been the HAVA, Help America Vote Act legal director for West Virginia under the Bush-Cheney campaign. So I've been involved in ballot security for a number of years. Here's what's happening. There's a federal law, the National Voter Registration Act, which requires if you are going to purge your list, it has to be done 90 days before the federal election. The NAACP is claiming that the state of North Carolina is trying to purge their list within that 90 days. So they're saying that they're violating the National Voter Registration Act. North Carolina is saying, hey, we have a state law that allows us to purge people, and so our state law should trump. And I don't think that's correct, because states take money from the federal government and they say we consent to follow that federal law, in this case the National Voter Registration Act. So I think the federal law will trump if in fact there is a violation. Of course, these are all allegations at this point.
Eric, what do you think?
North Carolina has to understand that the federal law trumps any state law, but it is a voter suppression tactic. I'm from Birmingham, Alabama, so I'm very accustomed to different ways that different groups try to suppress voters, and intimidation as well as taking people off the polls is a couple of those tactics. So we have to really pay attention to these lawsuits, because this is just the beginning, Jenna. There are going to be probably hundreds starting Monday and Tuesday, especially after the election really starts. These people are going to file lawsuits. They're going to protest elections. Although we think that the election will be done next week, I think it'll just be the beginning of several big legal battles.
And the NAACP, Richard, says that why they're raising red flag in particular is that the counties most affected are majority black voters in those counties. So you have that as being a central part of the lawsuit. On the other hand, you also have North Carolina being a state where there's been a huge flux of migration. Demographics have changed quite a bit because you have a lot of people moving from the north. Some say North Carolina is less of a southern state and more of a mid-Atlantic state at this time because of the changes over the last several years. So how do you think this works out? Because you do want voting rolls to be accurate. On the same side, you don't want certain groups to be targeted, which is what the NAACP is alleging.
Right. So, look, what happens is that the NAACP is claiming that there's a disparate impact, that it's affecting black voters more than any other voters, whites or Hispanics or other. And that's the allegation. We don't know if that's true or not. Obviously, if North Carolina is not following the law, that's a problem. But on the flip side, when you look at it politically, you know, this is an attempt by the Democratic National Committee and, of course, the Clinton campaign to help turn out black votes, because they are sagging behind in black votes. So that's really what it is. So whether or not the allegation is true or not, it's more towards a political play that the Clinton campaign needs help getting a black vote.
Eric, what do you think about that? Do you think that's part of the drive?
Oh, Richard, come on, that's a little poppycock. The Republican Party is trying to suppress the vote. Trump has told people we're going to have poll watchers. We're going to watch you go to the polls.
I just want to be clear on this case, though, that the Republican Party isn't the one that's trying to remove people from the ballot. They're individuals, and in the state of North Carolina, it's an individual that says, that's an advocate in the area and says we're trying to get this right. So I just want our viewers to be clear about that. Go ahead.
You are totally correct. In reference to this particular lawsuit, you're totally correct. But the overall picture with Trump's things that Trump is saying, telling people they're going to have poll watchers and people are going to watch them go into the polls and possibly intimidate voters, those are the type of suppression tactics that are being utilized and really trying to stifle the African-American vote. So that's why I believe, and I'm sure of, next week there are going to be a flood of lawsuits because of voter suppression, and that's going to be one of the major issues.
Richard, just ending with you, because it's my understanding that you're going to be doing some looking at some of the voting. And if you're not on a list and you show up to vote in the state of North Carolina and otherwise, can you still vote?
Oh, absolutely. Look, I was the Help America Vote Act. Under the Help America Vote Act signed by President Bush in 2002, you're entitled to a provisional ballot. Nobody will be denied the right to vote at any polling center because their name is not on the rolls because of the Help America Vote Act signed by Republican President Bush. At the end of the day, these are allegations that need to be proven. And so far, they haven't been proven. I think I saw one person who was 100 years old, and she had a mailing address as a P.O. box. You cannot use a P.O. box as your voter registration address. You can use it to receive mail, but you can't use it to vote. It has to be a physical address to vote. And so that allegation right there is a violation of law. Again, post office boxes cannot be used as a physical address for your voting.
That's interesting. I didn't know that. Richard, Eric, we're going to have to leave it there. But I think to underscore, as we continue to look for evidence in this case, I think it's interesting to end on the point that everyone can show up and vote, and we should all do that.
Show up and vote.
And I'll be out there in Philadelphia trying to protect the vote.
All right. We look forward to talking to you both again. Eric, Richard, great to have you. Thank you.
Good seeing you.